Hey everybody, this is Brian Nelson Jr. of the Leave It to Beaver fan club and the new Leave It to Beaver, Still the Beaver fan page. Today we have Pamela Baird we're going to be talking to. I'm going to ask her some questions about her time on Leave It to Beaver, as her role as Mary Ellen Rogers, her role as Myra. As you recall, she had two roles. Her main role was Mary Ellen Rogers. And we're going to talk about also her time off the set with Tony Dow. So it'll be interesting to see what she has to say about that. I hope she can reveal some really cool insight on that. So why don't you just sit back, get your hunk of milk, the hunk of cake, and listen to Mary Ellen Rogers / Myra. All right, well, we could get started. The
Okay.
the E in your last name would disappear during the series of the show, and then it would reappear
Yes.
again. What was with the subtraction of the E in your name?
I know that was strange, but there was a reason for it. MGM had put me under contract in somewhere in that time, and they said we're dropping the E. It's just going to be Baird, and so we just kept it that way, you know.
Oh, so that happened at MGM before you were on Leave It to Beaver, then?
Just during that time, because I had, been doing a lot of different freelance work, and so when I went on an interview for The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm with Lawrence Harvey and many other good actors. I won that part of Cinderella. Leslie Caron had played it years and years before. And so anyway, George Powell, the producer, said, "How would you like to play Cinderella?" after I read for him. And so, but they said, "We're going to drop the E in your name and make it easier. So it's going to be Baird, Baird." And I said, "Yes, sir, okay."
All right. That's kind of cool. So yeah, so it remained that way. And that some credits
Yes,
are one way and some
right.
credits are the other way, and then it kind of confuses people. And I mean, know that
I know
Hollywood does tendency to do that.
I know it was strange, but as I continued to work from that point on, well, we just left it with BA. Yeah.
And that's how it's pronounced, Baird, right?
Yes, it's pronounced Baird, both ways.
Oh, okay.
Beaird and BA.
Oh, okay. Okay, so were you approached to appear that Still Be the movie at all?
No, I wasn't. And if they were trying to reach me, I would never have known about it, because my husband, who was an actor songwriter turned minister, we decided that when we got married, we were going to stay together, and he wasn't going to be on the road with me at home, and that suited me real well because I could sing before he ever taught the Bible. And so we didn't have a cell phone back in those days.
No, definitely not.
And so no smartphones.
No.
And so they couldn't have reached me, and my agent had passed.
Oh, okay.
And so there was no way with us moving all over the place and traveling with our kids as we gained a child. We had five children.
Oh, okay. So you weren't approached for the movie. Were you approached for the show at all?
No, I think they had Janice Kent in mind all along. And besides, when it came out on the TV series, I was pretty well pregnant with my beautiful daughter.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't have fit at all.
Well, they were trying to get pregnant in the movie. They could have changed it to you were pregnant.
Well, yeah, they could. They sure could have.
Yeah.
I don't know, Brian, if they did or not, because, I was kind of out of it and very busy, and so I had with four boys in a row and then a daughter. I was pretty busy.
Okay, so you were not approached for the movie or the show at all then?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I didn't know. I just don't know if they ever did.
Okay.
But I know Janice, for the series, did a great job.
She
and
did
I was
wonderful.
glad to have met her.
Yeah, we spoke to Janice not too long, about a year or two ago. We talked to her. We talked to the entire New Leave It to Beaver cast that's still with us. And yeah, it was great.
Oh, that's
And she
that's good.
and she mentioned how she really enjoyed meeting you as well. Because you were
that was
you made an appearance. How did they get a hold of you for that?
Oh, by that time, let's see. We had settled in the DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah, my brother
because our
lives
kids
there.
had gotten older.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I really am not sure how they got my phone number, but my oldest son said, "Mom, it's Brian Levette." And I said, "Oh, Brian Levette.
Yeah,
oh, my goodness."
He was good at finding anybody that he wanted to find. Very good guy. Very good. We talked to him too, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
Yeah.
And so he said, "How would you like to come out and, and have a cameo role in the show?" And I said, "I'd love to. Let me check with my husband,
Yeah.
to see if he can carry on this whole thing." And so
Yeah.
he said, "Yes, go for it." So they flew me out, and then I, got to see everybody again.
That was really cool. Your husband didn't appear on the show at all with you, did he? I know in the episode.
No.
Yeah, the episode that you did appear on was at a high school reunion, and you were kind of
That's right.
Yeah, you were kind of standing by a guy. I just recently saw this episode.
I see.
Yeah, you were standing by a guy, but he was not saying anything. It was kind of candid. You were off in the background, and then you noticed Wally. Which, when I was a younger kid, I didn't.
Yeah.
I recognized the credit, and I thought, okay, why is I couldn't put two and two together when I was a kid, and so I watched that, and I thought that is on the old credits too. But what is? And it was funny. You were uncredited. You were credited. A name was not said during that episode, but you were given the name Irene as a credit.
Oh, yes.
Did you have
right.
any input for that, or did they just do that?
I guess they just did that.
I guess to kind of just
I do remember
to give you a name, I guess, because they didn't say it at all in the episode.
I know, and that was strange, a little strange, but and what was funny was Janice and I, in the episode, we're at a dance, and so all the girls were lined up on one side and the guys on the other, and all of a sudden, Janice and I were standing side by side, and Brian kind of hollers out, "Separate the two Mary Ellen." I thought, and we both laughed and looked at each other, and so they moved me away from her, and it was fun. We had a good time.
Right, and in that particular scene, I'm sorry.
Yes, and and just seeing everybody again and being together, we didn't have to act. It was just fun.
Oh yeah,
seeing how we'd all changed, and gotten older, and the things we'd done and shared in between takes and stuff.
Yeah, it's just like a high school reunion, pretty much.
Yeah, just exactly.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah. So, I guess this question kind of leads into that. What was it like reuniting with the cast that you spent with as a child? Did you have memories that kind of came back, or?
Yeah. Oh, yes. It was, for me, because I had been out of it for a while, it was very special. It really was. And everyone was really nice to me, and it was great seeing Tony and meeting his real wife, Lauren, who was so kind, and Janice. And then also at that point, Cheryl Holdridge, who has now passed, but we were friends for years and years, and she and I had fun seeing each other. And the whole thing, it was just a lot of fun, and a lot of emotions, came up because of the time that had passed, and talking with Ken, who played Eddie, who's
right.
now gone, and he sat with me and talked at length about his life, and it was really very special.
Yeah, we spoke. We were actually in talks with Ken's sons. We talked to Ken's sons. We actually did a video.
Oh.
Yeah, we did a video interview with them last year. The same year that Eddie had passed, actually, when Ken Osmond had passed away.
Oh.
We were actually in talks, and we were going to talk to him. And yeah, I got an email, unfortunately, from Eric notifying me of that news, and I was quite shocked. And because me too.
Unfortunately,
I think they saw it was coming, but I don't think they expected it like right then.
That's soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
What was it like working with him, like as a child?
Well, he was just the opposite of what he played.
That's what everyone says.
He was very quiet and just soft-spoken and very respectful. He just had that role down perfect.
Oh, yeah.
He knew what to do, and he did it so well.
Right. I thought it was, and Brian Levant, we were talking about how great he is at finding people he wants to find.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, and he was able to find Larry Mondello. And unfortunately, he wasn't in the show. He was in the movie, and then he was in the last show, which was a 2-part finale. But yeah, it was really cool seeing him.
Oh man, that's good. Yes.
But it was funny for me because it was funny for me because I as a kid saw the original show first. I saw the original show first. And I'm a kid of the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. And so the new Leave It to Beaver was right up my alley, and it came to me probably within a year after I started watching the old show. And the old show, it was kind of cool for me to see the new show and see all these people from Mayfield as adults. It was really cool for me. And then it was really cool.
That's good.
Yeah, it was really cool for me to see like Eddie's real children play his children. I was like, wow, that's really neat.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I remember that. That's good. Yes.
So when you auditioned for the part, did you audition specifically for a character named Mary Ellen, or was it for like or was it for like a girlfriend of Wally's or a classmate of Wally's?
Well, Brian, I can't really remember it. I've tried, but I can't remember it. But I did look up. I have an old diary way back, like when I was 13, 14, and 15, and 16. Oh, yeah. And I did find a few lines, and I wrote them down. It says here, I went on a call for Beaver. And let's see, where it says, there was something really funny. Let's see. Now this was in April 9, 1959. Last day of filming on Beaver. Tony and I had lots of fun in school. We said goodbye and left. he sure is a gentleman.
Oh, wow.
That was 1959.
That was on my
April
mother's
9th.
Yeah, that was my mother's birthday.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, she was a little kid at that time, too.
See.
Yeah, she's a little younger than Beaver.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's so cool. Wow.
That was amazing. And and then they did a layout of, let's see, what was that place called? Oh, the magazine was called the TV Star Parade magazine. And Tony and I, they had me with him, and this was in 1959, and we got 2 full pages, and I wrote, "I looked awful."
So was this like a outing that you two went on? Like, did you go?
Yes.
Cool. So you went to like a restaurant
we
of
went
some
to
sort?
an ice cream store.
Yeah.
I think it was 31 Flavors or something.
Oh,
and
wow.
then we went to a car lot, and he was looking at a little sports car, and they took pictures.
Oh,
And then they took pictures of us walking down the street. I can remember those 3 things. Oh, and in a store, shopping.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So you were kind of like out on the town with Tony?
Yeah,
And-
that's what it was.
And then they just
Uh-huh.
did like pictures? Was it like
That's right.
like a photographer that just
And they-
tagged along and
Yes.
you went out and
Who
about
back-
and they
who-
Okay.
Yes, followed us around.
Yeah, I think there's pictures out there with that, what might have been that day. I don't know if you did them more than once.
See.
But
I see.
yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, because, I think maybe even Tony Dowd shared them. Like, because he's got he's got archives and stuff.
Oh,
so
yes.
he's got.
Oh, yes.
Right, on his page.
Oh,
which
I
is
bet
really
it
cool.
was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which that was really neat.
Right.
So we asked.
This is. Oh, excuse me, Brian. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say, Tony, we asked Tony what it was like for him back then to be kind of like a teen idol. So what was it like for you to be a star back in the 60s? Like when you weren't on the set and you were, like when Tony and you were out doing stuff, were there people asking for autographs, and how did you handle that?
Oh, yes, of course. We would always oblige anyone who came up and asked for an autograph. You bet. That's a real compliment to me. And I'm sure Tony felt the same. Like I said, he was such a gentleman. And I've got another funny thing that I wrote on in 1959, but it's kind of silly. I said, the most memorable thing happened to me, but I would rather not say what it is. And then I said, Tony and myself went to school. So I guess we were the only ones that day in the school, on the set. It was such a nice day, and I'm having lots of fun.
Oh, wow.
And we had the first day of shooting that day. And for me, I noticed in my diary I worked a lot, so much so that by the time I was, 17, the doctor ordered complete rest for 1 year.
Oh,
because on the weekends, I was traveling and flying. My other agent would book me for banquets and churches to go and sing.
Oh, okay.
And share my faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. So I was just working all the time on all these shows, and then on the weekends I was flying around the country doing all this other stuff.
All the PR
and
stuff.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And so it was good, and it passed, and I got stronger, and so then went back to working. My dad said, "Well, we'll just freelance after." I was under contract, like you mentioned, to Fox first of all.
Oh, okay, you were
and
Fox
did My
first.
Friend Flicka. Yeah, that was fun because you know where we shot that? We shot it in Malibu Hills. Fox owns a huge ranch there,
Right.
and that's where we shot most of My Friend Flicka. And so we had fun experiences because we saw a real cast being born.
Oh, wow.
Right there on the ranch, and then there were these ducks that would come around and try to nab your leg, and then we could ride. Of course, nobody could ride Flicka except Johnny. He was
Right.
He was a wonderful too.
Speaking of My Friend Flicka, did you ever think that there would be a time that you would be remembered more so for Leave It to Beaver, where you have far less appearances than you do in My Friend Flicka?
Right. Yeah, I never did. And I just don't think maybe the writers knew or the producers knew. Of course, they were savvy. But I never thought that it would become such an iconic show.
Oh, I know.
But that is true. I only did like 6 or 7, I don't know exactly, but not very many, but that's what people will bring up.
Well, I think it probably because it hasn't been off the air since it's been on the air. It has never left the air.
Right. It's never left the air.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just simply amazing. You think that's a long time ago.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
And it left production, at will. So it wasn't like they were forced out. They were never in the top 10. They were never a top 10 show at that time, but they were never booted out. So it'd be interesting, unfortunately, I mean, we've heard, reasons why Joe Conley and Bob Mosier decided to not continue with the show. They saw where television was going at the time. Right. They didn't, there was more hour syndication, or sitcoms, I should say.
Right.
And they didn't want to go that direction.
Yeah.
And I think they too also found out that it was going to be Wally and Beaver are moving on. And the preface of the show was the childhood troubles that you get into. So, Beaver would be going to high school, Wally would be going to college, which would have been cool to kind of explore, right? But but I don't think I think their show was troubles and as growing up. I think it would have been cool if they would if they would have stayed, maybe at least gone until Jerry, or I should say Beaver, finished high school. Right. But Jerry wanted to go to public or high school. He went to a private high school, but he wanted to go to high school in real life, which he got to experience, which was really cool.
That's right. That's right. You bet.
So after Beaver ended, I'm sorry. After Beaver ended, did you continue in the industry after that for a while, or?
Yes, I did for a while. That's right. I certainly did. I did most all the major TV shows at that point and several movies. But I enjoyed acting and stuff. I really did. But it was beginning to change. And as I was about 19, 20, when I did finally end it, I found that I really wanted to go to college, and I really wanted to meet regular kids. Because my only friends really were the kids that I competed against. We were all friends to each other because we worked together so much, except that I do have to say when I did get to go to regular high school, Covina High School, I did gain 2 really close friends.
Okay.
And they were really neat and understood and just, I don't know, I really appreciated their friendship. But then I got a scholarship to go back east to music school right there in Princeton, New Jersey, and that was a whole new learning experience,
You go from the west and you go to the east, completely different.
Yeah, completely different. And so I tried to keep everything real quiet. I was there to learn. I knew they knew so much more than I did about music and all that. So I wanted to, my friend even told me, now you know what you know. Now, if you want to gain, you, yeah, if you want to gain more knowledge, then you put aside what you know and absolutely get and learn from them. And so I did. It was a
It's
great experience.
yeah, it's always good to be a student at all times.
You bet.
Even when you're a
Oh,
genius
yes.
at something, you always want to try to get better at it. And that
That's right.
that
That's
goes
the way
back
I
to
feel.
it goes back to a favorite Leave It to Beaver quote. Ward once said,
Oh,
don't always try to prove yourself, always try to improve yourself. So,
oh, yes, I remember.
and
That's good.
and it's one of my favorite quotes, and it was re-quoted, it was paraphrased actually by Beaver to his son.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's my favorite line out of the whole series. It's great.
boy, that just says it all.
And
It really
it's a
does.
great piece of advice because you don't need to
Yes.
try to prove yourself. Just always try to do the best you
No,
can.
yeah,
You know?
that's right.
Yeah,
Keep growing. Keep learning.
exactly.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you.
So yeah, so when you got the part as Myra, and this goes back again, you may or may
Oh,
not
yes.
remember it, but that was also on the show. So how
Yes.
did you come about to get that part? Was that did they say we got this different part for you, or you already had an established
Yes.
part? So that's how they did it. There was no.
Right, I know. It was so strange. Brian, it was so strange. But in 1960, it says, I found the actual year and part where I said, I just love being in the studio, makeup and hair and so forth. And it was nice working on the show again. I said, Myra, I played a sophisticated girl.
Yeah,
I got the part of Myra, and I didn't explain anything, but everyone was so nice there.
yeah.
That's all I said.
I thought it was kind
Yeah,
of
that
funny.
was great.
Yeah, and you wanted an orchid, kind of
Oh,
very
yeah.
yeah, like you said, sophisticated, kind of high maintenance.
Kinda high
You want
maintenance.
this.
That's good.
You're the chairman of the dance committee, so you have to have a high class.
The
You have to have an orchid. And so
Yes.
Wally,
Right.
as smooth as he is, trying to figure out how to get you an orchid, and and
Yes.
and Beaver does him a favor and gets him an orchid, and then it gets wrecked.
Oh, yes,
and-
that's right.
yeah,
That's right.
but a gentleman trying to do what he can for his lady.
That's right. Oh, yes, exactly.
And Tony had said
There
too.
was.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What did he say?
I was just gonna
No,
say
you go.
he said that the character of Wally was very much like him. One of the questions
Oh.
that we had asked him
Oh.
was that what don't you miss about that part of your life? And he said dating. Trying to get dates was kind of uncomfortable for him because he was, kind of shy and reserved. That wasn't in
Yes.
his comfort zone. So he had mentioned
Right.
something. I don't know if it was a scene that he did with you or something where he had to put his arm around you, or maybe it was in one of those photo shoots he
Oh.
did, and he was real
Oh,
nervous,
yes.
and he did.
Nervous, yes.
So, but yeah, he brought that up.
Oh, yes, and I can agree with him on that. Up till that point where we did that one show, I don't know what it was called, the episode, but we were supposed to dance together. And of course, I had taken every kind of lesson possible, but I had never been to a dance because I was too busy working all the time. And so that felt a little bit uncomfortable for me, too. I think Jimmy Hawkins was on that episode.
Oh,
and we
wow.
were all supposed to dance together.
I was going to say it wasn't the cha-cha one then. It was the one where
Oh,
Dudley was in it. That was the one that Jimmy
yes,
Hawkins
that's
played.
it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he was, that was, it's kind of weird. It's kind of funny when you look back on different eras and you look at television, like
Yeah.
for instance, the like if you look at a guy, he was considered, as Wally would say, a square, like when he was talking to his dad.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
he's a square because he carries around a briefcase like you, Dad. He was a real smooth talker there, right? But yeah, it was funny because you try to okay, now in the 2020s, 70, 60, almost 70 years later, are you, what does a square look like now compared to then? Like if you were to see a guy, 17 years, 16 years old, walking around with a briefcase today in an overcoat with a hat, would that be considered as a square today?
Wow. Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Different styles, different perceptions. World. Yeah. So I guess what productions try to do to prepare for something like that is to try to make that character stand out differently so much that it would seem like any era that they'd be viewed at as different, even if it'd be looking completely normal 70 years from now.
Right. That's right. There'd be a real distinction. Yeah.
Like in the 80s, the nerd was the geek with the glasses and tight pants and high waters. So is that the case nowadays? Yes. Or, you got to kind of make them talk different, make them act different so that they stand out. Because, in 2030, there might be a point where they say, well, that guy looks completely normal. Why is he considered not cool?
Right. What is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, as a child actress, was it a common thing in show business to be remembered as a kid, being a kid on television? I guess let me rephrase that. It's more common these days for a child in show business what you do to remember about being a kid. What do you remember as a child, being a child actress then, is what I guess you could see happening nowadays?
Okay. Well, I know in my own experience there was a lot of preparation. I took lessons on every kind of lesson you can imagine. And I really enjoyed doing that, instruments and singing and acting and horseback riding and dancing and ballet and all of them. But it's also a lot of work. And I remember, just being pretty tired most of the time because we just worked all the time, and there was a lot of preparation. You had to be on target when you're working with a star and they're depending on you. I mean, back before, let's see. Some shows they would tape live, in front of live audiences.
Right.
And that was pretty challenging because of the fact that a star could throw you a line and say, no, I don't want you to say any of that. I want you to say all this. And change about 4 or 5 lines. And you've got to remember it's the first time they say it.
Right.
And so that happened to me. And Sheldon Leonard was the producer of the show I'm talking about.
Right.
And so there was pressure, and then I can't remember the name of the show, but I know one thing that was funny. let's see, what was his name? Hal Cooper.
Okay.
Was a New York and Hollywood director. And we were doing, I believe it was called the Matinee Theater.
Right.
And they were kind of like mini-series. They'd last, I don't remember how many weeks they'd last, 2 or 3 weeks, but you'd get a new script every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of fun because you were memorizing. You did the show, and then you went home to work some more to memorize for tomorrow's show because they did not want you to stop the tape. They wanted it to keep going. Well, do you remember Don Grady?
Yes.
He passed also.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of my 3 sons. Well, he and I had a scene together, and we had several, but one scene, we were supposed to be sitting in a restaurant. I should tell the bad thing I did first before I say what he did bad, but I'll tell what I did bad too. And so all of a sudden, he just went blank. I mean, you're tired and you're working every day, all day, and you're learning these new lines. Well, he just went blank, so where does the camera go? They get off him and come to me. And so I just tried to feed him his lines, tried to talk about what we were talking about, and he caught it back and went on. And he and I laughed about that so many times. And then what I did, where they had to stop the tape, was actually I was supposed to do something so simple, and that was to put the needle onto the record player. Well, I didn't get it on right.
Oops.
And so it was funny because then they had to stop it because it was making too much noise.
Mm.
So, anyway, my son just reminded me to tell the funny story of Norman Tokar. He directed a lot of the Beaver.
Oh yeah.
Well, Tony and I were sitting on the couch, and we were supposed to, really be with it. And all of a sudden, Norman Tokar was really a good director, and he was hilarious.
Yeah.
And we got to watching him, and he wore big black horn-rimmed glasses.
Yes.
And he would make faces kind of while he was watching us say our lines. Well, we made the mistake of watching him for a split second or two.
And laugh.
And Tony and I got so tickled we couldn't stop laughing. And boy, when all of a sudden, my husband said, "Yeah, at $1,000 a minute, that's not too good." So he said, "Okay, you kids pull it together right now. That's enough." And so, we did. We hopped too, and we quit laughing.
Tony has a lot of fond memories of Norman Tokar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
he was really good.
Yeah, in fact, Tony had said that he had taken a lot of his style, I guess you could say, directing. When he did directing, he kind of did, one of Norman Tokar's things was action versus just standing in a room. So if you had a scene, you had, instead of, he might have had a hand in, let's say, they're in the room and Wally had a date with Alma, I believe it was, and her father standing by the fireplace smoking a pipe. There's other stuff going on than just the scene of dialogue. So
that's true.
Yeah, so Tony took that as well, and he did that in his directing style as well.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony's really smart.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's good.
Yeah, and Norman was such a staple in Leave It to Beaver that they even, there's a lot of homage, in the new show.
Yes.
The pediatrician or the OBGYN doctor, Mary Ellen's, that was Dr. Tokar, and the pediatrician was Dr. Tokar. You go, in the movie, the doctor's on the door, it's Dr. N. Tokar. So it's an homage to him.
Oh.
So it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's neat.
So, I guess maybe we've kind of covered. If you remember any silly anecdotes, I guess the Norman Tokar thing with the $1,000 minute, or
Yes, that's right.
that was kind of one of them. Yeah.
Boy.
So, how would you compare working on Leave It to Beaver compared to other shows that you had worked on in your career at that point?
Oh, I would definitely say, Brian, that it was more family. You felt connected. Even though I was only on so few shows, I felt connected. They always were so inclusive, the whole cast.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And everyone, and well, Joe Connolly and Bob Mosier, they had several kids between the two of them. They knew children. I think Jerry or Tony or anyone that we have talked to that had worked on the show back then in the 50s and 60s said that anytime, if there was a whisper of a bad word, that guy was fired on the spot. Because they were so in tune to the kids. They wanted to make sure that the kids were comfortable.
Yes.
And
that's right.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what you were saying. You were working at that other show where they put a lot of pressure on you, which kind of affects it kind of affects you. And I think Joe Connolly and Bob Mosier wanted to do kind of the opposite of that and just have you guys relax. I mean, you still had to work, you still had to know your lines, still be able to do your scenes.
That's right.
But at the same time, nothing was really under pressure like that.
No, I always felt accepted.
Yeah.
And a part of it.
Yeah.
And so that meant a lot. That was important. That's right.
Yeah. And it shows, too. It definitely shows in those episodes, too.
Oh, that's good. That's right.
So what had you leave acting?
Why did I leave?
Right.
Well, I guess by the time I was 20, that was the last thing I did, other than going back years later to do the little cameo. I really wanted to see more of the world. Okay. And so I went back east to school, and then my friend Joy and I, we worked our way around the world singing.
Oh, okay.
And in all these different countries, and that was alone. I could write a book about just that episode of my life for those 7 months going, because we went into communist countries.
Right.
And we had talked with Bob Cushman, who at that point was in high command of the CIA, second or third in command. Oh, wow. And he told us, once you go behind the Iron Curtain, we cannot help you.
Right.
And so we knew we were taking a big chance. And I'll tell you something kind of fun, was that one night we did get a job finally, before we ran out of money. And it was at the Intercontinental Hotel. And it was 23 floors, and we were to do in Romania.
Okay.
And it was all communist, and we were to have 2-hour shows each night.
Okay.
And everybody came through there. Shirley Temple Black, who was the ambassador, from our country, and Maximilian Schell, on and on and on. And one of the people in the audience at a table sent a card up by way of the maitre d' and said, "Sing the #1 song in America when you left." And so we looked at each other, Joy and I did, and we picked up our guitars. We made one strum, and then we sang the first verse a cappella the number one song in 1971 was Judy Collins' rendition of Amazing Grace.
Oh, wow.
And I know. And that's why we looked at each other. Do we dare do this?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So we took the chance, and we did it. We sang 3 verses.
Oh, wow.
And it was, you could have heard a pin drop, Brian. It was so quiet. But it was received. And that was really fun. I mean, it was a great experience, to say the least. Yeah.
So now sets of the show. Now you worked in the era, and Tony Dowis said this, that black and white TV was such an art back then, because filming in black and white, your sets had to be a certain way. I would imagine that
that's right.
The wardrobe had to be a certain way, because certain things don't come out right in a black and white screen. So
right.
So what was it like, looking at the designs of the sets? Like, do you happen to remember, like, colors of the sets, what they looked like?
Oh, man. Boy.
I know it's a long time ago.
Yes. Let's see. Well, and it's a whole different art of lighting. That's the main deal. That was so different was the lighting. I remember it seemed to take much longer to light in black and white. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I remember as a young person. But I don't know quite what else to say about that. But yes, colors were, different. There had to be more contrast.
Right.
Because it was all black and white, so there had to be dark and light.
Right.
And whereas things could be more subtle in color.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's been discussion out there. We've asked, I think, everyone that we've talked to what their thoughts are if they were to colorize Leave It to Beaver. What are your thoughts on that?
Boy, it does change the tone of it, doesn't it?
It does.
Of the original show.
It does. And
because things were so much more simple then.
Right. I think it would be really cool. And don't get me wrong, I love the black and white. I would hate to see black and white go, because like you said,
right.
It's quite an art, and Tony has said the same thing. It's he said it would be great to see it in color. Number one, it would bring a whole new audience, because they're unfortunately,
that's true.
Nowadays, kids they see black and white, they think that's boring. I grew up in the 80s, and I was kind of an old soul. I liked the older TV. I liked the older music. I didn't mind. I didn't mind the black. Yeah, I didn't mind the black and white at all. I loved it.
Yeah.
Wow. And the one thing, when the new show came out in the 80s, there was always thought, the high school sweater, the Mayfield high school sweater.
Yeah. Yes.
In the new show, the high school sweater that Beaver's son wore was blue. It had yellow and gold. But as a fan of that show, we were trying to figure out what was that color of that one on the set. Versus on the screen.
Oh man.
Do you happen to recall that?
And I can't even think what it was myself. It seems like they wore it. Yeah.
And you don't recall a hint of it, or what you think it might have been?
It kind of comes back to me, but I'm not sure. So I hate to say it, but
go ahead and say it, because
kind of gray, kind of grayish, grayish like, with a dark color of the M.
Okay.
And I keep wanting to say kind of a burgundy, but I'm not real sure of that, Brian.
That's all right. I talked to Tony. I talked to Tony when he was in town here a couple of years ago, and I asked him the same thing. And
Oh.
he remembered the color, and it was kind of funny because I revisited this question when we talked to him on here
You
separately,
did?
and
Yes.
and he he kind of switched the answers. It was kind of cool, but.
Oh.
The original sweater, he had said that it was like a gray, like you said, like a gray, kind of like a light
yeah.
blue, like a light blue gray. So almost like
Yeah.
it was,
Oh, yes, and I almost had a little blue in there.
yeah. And so, and then it was like black
Yeah.
armbands, and the letter was black too.
Oh.
So
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
after
Well,
after
that's
60
good.
plus years, we get to find out what it really was then.
Yeah, it'll be fun. That's right.
But then when you wonder too, because back then they during the news show, cast and crew, they wore those sweaters and stuff. I don't
Oh, yeah.
know if they did that in the old one. Probably not. It was probably a prop.
Probably not.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if the intent color. When Brian took it to series in the 80s, he probably tried to come up with a color friendly, eye popping thing. I know Jerry had said that where he went to school, when he went to high school, those were the same colors as when he went to high school, was with that royal blue and the yellow like that. But yeah, if you were to put that on screen in black and white, it wouldn't appear properly. It wouldn't. The contrast wouldn't work. Right.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
But I like your idea of getting a whole new, putting it in color would probably bring a whole new audience.
And it would bring another 60 plus years. Not that it wouldn't go that long anymore, but it would be really cool.
Right.
Very well. It would be, you got all these, and I am a fan of the show as big as anybody out there, and I would love to see it in color. I don't dislike the black and white. I love the black and white. I would hate the black and white to be gone.
That's right.
But I would love to see it in color. It would be like watching it again.
Oh.
It would be like a whole new
watching
series.
A new show.
It would be because and a lot of them would be very important for the story. There's an episode with Wally's suit. Wally's suit is flashy colors, but you can't tell that on a black and white screen. Right. You can kind of, it's got
you can't.
A flashy style to it, but you don't know how loud it looks.
Right, you don't. That would be very interesting. I like your point of bringing in a whole new audience with color.
We need to convince the studios and all the fans out there that need to understand that they don't need to watch it. Or the black and whites are still there. They can watch the black and whites.
Right.
They can air the black and white.
That's right.
They can air the black and white on TV. I'm fine with that. But you can bring the colored ones in maybe a special edition of like another box set of some sort. That would be really cool.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it would.
Yeah.
And, I like that idea. And I'm just amazed that this fan club is so large and so they're amazing. Like at my last birthday last year, I received so many beautiful little notes, and it just absolutely made my day. It was so
cool.
special.
That's so cool to hear.
Some neat people.
Yeah, it was really cool to get your reaction too, and your kids had said that, you appreciate all the messages that everyone was giving, and it was really cool. And we try to I try to acknowledge everyone's birthdays as they come along, and sometimes they pass and oops, I forgot one. But yeah, I try to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I guess it appears to be correct with you, but a lot of times information isn't correct. So it's like,
right. That's right.
That's not my birthday.
That's right.
So
no,
I'd imagine that sometimes happens, and maybe more times than not. I don't know. It depends on who's putting in the information, I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
So here's our last question. What are you up to these days?
let's see now, Ryan. I'll try to sum it up. Um, uh, I did go through school and get 3 degrees.
Wow.
I earned 3 degrees. That took me 9 years.
Okay.
That was a lot of work.
I bet.
And then my husband has passed, and we were married 43 years, and we had a great life.
Nice.
And he was a wonderful husband, and because he was in the industry, well, it made it. We could get along really good because we understood. And recently, I have been taking care of my second son, who is 44 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He is special needs, Brian.
Okay.
He's very bright.
Yeah.
But he's in a wheelchair, and he uses a computer to speak.
Oh, cool. I think I've seen that. Yeah.
And he was just excited that I was going to speak with you all.
Oh, that's so cool.
On the fan club.
Nice.
And so I'm helping him right now, the last 8 months, but he wants to go into his own apartment with with a nurse and special people, aides that will help him. And so he will probably do that in the next month or two.
Oh, okay.
And plus, he knows I'm getting older, and I can't lift him anymore.
Right.
But let's see. And then what else? I love to read and study, and I ride my adult tricycle, if you can believe it, with a helmet on.
That's cool. No, that's good. I like that.
And I'm my children, who aren't children, but they're my sons and daughter, have really implored me to write my story.
I think that would be a really cool idea. Yeah.
So I'm probably going to try to do that next. Yeah.
We were trying to, Tony, not really up for that idea, writing a book.
Oh.
But I think it would be really cool, just tell him, just put it out there, Tony, write your story. Christopher Lynch, who did Ken Osmond's book, he would be more than happy to help Tony with that.
Oh boy, I've got to read that.
Yeah, it's very well done. It's very well done.
And, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be cool. You get a book out there, and, that'd be really neat. So I guess here's a question that I didn't think of. How did you and your husband meet?
Oh, we met. I did a show at NBC with Dale Evans. Dale Evans Rogers.
Yeah.
And she played my mother. I was 15, and can't remember the name of the show, but anyway, she said, "You're a little young, but I'm the president of the group, and it's called the Hollywood Christian Group, and I want you to come and tell them that I invited you."
Oh, cool.
So when my father, because I didn't drive then, my father drove me into town, and at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, we had the Ivar room. And sitting on a stool was this tall, 6'6", dark-haired fellow that was named, his stage name was Jericho Brown. And his real name was Bob Hensley.
Okay.
And he wrote some songs, some really good songs. One song got on the charts, and that's why he got to meet Elvis and go to his house and broke his nose. Actually, ouch. Bob accidentally broke Elvis's nose.
Ouch. You were there for that?
Cool. But
you were there for that? You saw that happen, or?
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. And
but they were playing football out in the backyard.
Oh, whoops.
At Graceland, and that's what happened.
So I'm sorry, just to clarify. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yes.
Who?
No, that's okay.
Who broke Elvis's nose? I just want to clarify.
Oh, Bob, my husband.
Oh, boy.
Accidentally
Oops.
broke Elvis's nose when they were playing touch football.
Touch football.
And,
Good thing it wasn't tackle football.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, just whatever they were doing, it was probably tackle, because were having a lot of fun anyway. Yeah. And so then about 9 years later, we were married. We got married. My dad was very, very protective. And he said, nope,
yep.
Nope, no dating, no.
At 15, right? He didn't let you until you were 30?
But I'm glad my dad was... What?
He didn't let you date until you were 30? So you had to wait 15 other years, right?
No, it wasn't quite that bad, but almost. He was very strict.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, in a way, as I've gotten older, Brian, I think, thank goodness that he was pretty strong, mm-hmm. because a lot of my friends, they got into a lot of trouble.
Right.
And they were wonderful girls that I knew and worked with for years. And so I'm glad he was strong. At the time, I thought a little too strong, but anyway, so then my husband and I got married, and we had 5 children and 43 years together. So I'm really grateful.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much, Pamela, for taking the time. We really appreciate it, and I know the fans are going to love hearing from you. They're going to love it. Oh,
that's so nice. Thank you. And I just am thrilled with this large fan club. It's just amazing.
I'm glad
you all are doing a great job.
Right. And feel free to interact, say hi, throw. The fans love that too.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'll try to do that, Brian.
Awesome.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
All right. We've enjoyed it too. Thank you very much. Wow, that was a great conversation. It was really, wow, what a gracious, nice, genuine lady. It was almost like I was talking to Mary Ellen myself. I mean, she was a very gracious person to talk to, and I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation and found something out that you never knew before. I know I did. And go back and listen to it as many times as you want. It was great talking to her, and I hope you enjoy listening as much as I did interviewing. Talk to you soon, guys.